Hello, I'm Tom from Gear4music and I'm joined today by Luke Jones, a concert pianist. We're going to be having a look at how the CA series of Kawai pianos have got even better. And don't forget, if you like these videos, don't forget to click like, subscribe and comment below. That's great. Thank you very much, Luke. So we've got the CA901 in front of us. So this is the flagship in the Kawai concert artist series. So they've obviously sort of done quite a lot of improvements compared to the CA99, the predecessor. So we're going to be having a look at a lot more detail about what has changed. But just in a nutshell, we've got an improved piano sound on here. So we've got the new competition grand on here. So we've got an improved interface with the panel there in the cheek. We've also got an improved design, so we're going to go into that in a little bit more detail, as well as improved Bluetooth and a whole new speaker system that's been upgraded. So if we sort of look more at the piano sound to start off with, so can you just explain a little bit about the new competition piano and what sort of setting that would be best for?
Well, so the Competition Grand is a really interesting new sound that they've got, which is actually an SKX, as it was with the previous Concert Grand, but they've made tweaks based on some of the new developments that Kawai has made to compete. The reason it's called the Competition Grand is that it's based on grands that have been used in the Hamamatsu International Piano Competition, the Chopin Piano Competition, and others. So, you know, you're experiencing in your own home the latest updates in their grand lineup and what's being actually used out in the
So with these sorts of pianos, there'll also be a lot of feedback from the world's greatest players to actually improve these pianos even further, making even more refinements.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, quite often in competitions, I mean, I've been there myself, sometimes you'll get a choice of pianos. And so obviously in the case of, say, Hamamatsu competition, there will be people who will elect to choose the Kawai pianos. And no doubt the Kawai company has probably taken some feedback, and they've also made their own observations about how it's being used and how it's being performed. And what we're seeing here is some of the latest developments with that. So it's quite amazing to be able to experience that at home.
Fantastic. So obviously sort of the competition style and element of it, it's really giving me the most virtuosic pieces.
Yes, exactly. So I can show you a little demonstration actually. So if we pick a stalwart example from competition, say one of the Chopin Etudes, for example, Opus 10 No. 1 in C major. So it's got a very bold, very rich, very bright tone. You know, kind of actually what you would want in a competition. You know, when you're going out on a big concert stage, you know, you want to try and draw the audience in with a very rich, very bold tone, something that's going to make a big impression. Now, if we compare that to the old SKX, which is an exceptional instrument, but if we compare the tonal quality, it's somewhat more mellow, somewhat more gentle, more intimate. So it may be suited for different kind of repertoire. So quite commonly in a lot of competitions, of course, we have the wide range of repertoire, but quite often you want to show off with the virtuosic stuff, you know, really stuff that's there to impress. So I think actually the sound set that's being used with the Competition Grand kind of reflects this actually. So
she's great. I mean, obviously with virtuosic performances, you need a key action that's really going to stand up to that level of performance. So a lot of pianos that are on the market have a plastic key with wooden inserts on the side, but this is a fully wooden key. So how does it feel as a player and how does that make a difference?
Well, so part of the importance of having a wooden key is that you get a weight and a sort of depth, which gives it a very different tactile feel. Not only this, but also, as you can see, the key tops are made of composite, so sort of what they call the ebony and ivory feel. And basically this is porous, and so you don't get this problem with perspiration, with purely normal plastic key tops. They can sometimes get slippy because obviously when you're playing, it can get a bit sweaty, and that's an unfortunate side effect of performance sometimes. But with these key tops, what you find is that it provides that grip, and it's porous, so it absorbs, some of that excess perspiration essentially. So it's really ideal for practice, and also if you had the right setting of performance as well.
And also the length of the key is quite different on this compared to other pianos on the market.
Yes. So this is there to provide you with more feedback, more kind of tactile feedback. So, for example, when you play the key, there's a kind of click at the end of it, which you won't be able to hear, but I can feel this here. And that's very common with what you would find on an acoustic piano.
Because obviously if you're pressing down on an acoustic piano, you feel the hammers lifting, don't you?
Exactly.
So it's to recreate that feel and that experience.
Yeah, exactly. So they've really tried to incorporate many of the experiences that you have with an acoustic piano into this new digital.
Because ultimately, every digital piano tries to recreate that authentic acoustic feel. Yeah. So another feature that's been improved is the control panel. So I take it that's really quite easy to use, just scrolling through the sounds.
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of the user interface, it's pretty seamless. It's very obvious. And I think even people who are sort of, not technologically literate would be able to use this very easily. It's kind of very point and click kind of oriented display. So if you want to choose a particular sound, you just simply swipe. If you want to choose a different type of sound, like a not piano, you just click on the sounds button, and it comes up with an array of different sounds that you might want to use, like electric pianos, harpsichords, etc., etc.
And I think what's quite nice about it is you have got the sort of pictorial aspect, so you can actually sort of see the style of piano you're playing, so whether it's an upright, a grand, for example. And also, it's worth mentioning that you can control everything through an iPad or Android device as well. Yeah. So that's through the virtual technician, so you can even fine-tune your performances even further.
Yeah, you can adjust all the aspects of the sound, the quality of the sound, the tone. For example, with the pedals, you can change how the damper works in relation to the sound. So there's lots of customizability that you can use to, create the experience that you want from your piano.
So you've just mentioned the pedal. So there have been some redesigns on this compared to the previous model, the CA901. So one of the things that has changed is the pedals.
Yeah.
So the positioning is a lot better in terms of sort of playing. So does it feel more comfortable as a player?
Yeah, so it's a little bit more ergonomic, I would say. On some of the older digital pianos, I've got very long legs, so it can be quite difficult to get under the keyboard and sort of feel comfortable in the seated position. But with this, it simulates, I would say, quite close to what you get with a real piano, which is what you want essentially, because the last thing you want is to be used to a certain seating position, only to then go sit at, for example, if you're going to an exam, and then you come to a grand piano and then you suddenly feel very alien in your seated position. You don't want that. So
of course, and say some other sort of more minor tweaks to the design as well include things like the music rest as well.
Yes, so the music rest on this one is very long. So, and it also features this sort of leather strip. And basically what that means is that when you've got sheet music, it will sort of grip to the score. So ideally it won't fall down. And
it might not sound like a lot to actually have that, but it is does make quite a difference.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, especially if you're playing from lots of sheets, for example, having a lengthy music stand is ideal. And it means you've just got plenty of space to work. I mean, sometimes at home, I occasionally compose music, and you want a long music stand because if you've got a piece, you've got some manuscript paper, and then you might have a notebook. There's a lot of things to have.
A lot of things to have around the piano.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, certainly from an educational point of view as well, if you're teaching, you might have multiple different scores.
Yeah,
People are working on between the grade pieces.
Yeah, exactly. You might have notes on one hand, score, and maybe scales or something, or reminders for what you've done from previous weeks and things like that.
Fantastic. So we've also got an improved sound system on here. So it uses obviously premium Japanese components as you would expect from Kawai, but it's also got this soundboard on the back, which helps recreate the acoustic experience as well. So in here we've got a transducer, which helps to mimic that feedback that you would get from an acoustic.
Yeah, it's a sort of resonance that you get. Typically when you play on an upright or a grand piano, acoustic piano, when you play a note, you feel, even though it might be a very subtle thing, you actually do feel the vibration through the instrument. And that kind of provides this sort of extra sensory feedback. And through obviously these improved transducers and the soundboard, you start to get some of that feedback with it. You know, it's not just a sort of sound that comes out and it sort of flies out into the ether, so to speak. You know, you really feel connected to the sound.
And then Bluetooth-wise, so there's improved Bluetooth functionality. So why might that be quite helpful as a performer?
Well, so the Bluetooth audio components that have been installed into this instrument is extremely useful on many levels. So, for example, if you're a teacher and you want to provide, say, for example, an ideal recording to your student, say, listen back to it for reference or inspiration or feedback, you can provide that and then they can play it directly through the speakers so they can follow along and they can use it to match against their own performance. If you're preparing, for example, a concerto with orchestra, you can record a second piano part and then can play it back and you can play along with yourself, which is extremely useful. If you've got, if you're, for example, an ensemble player and you've got a backing track, so if you use a different genre of music, you can connect that to a Bluetooth device, play the backing track, and then you have the opportunity to rehearse with, you know, whatever it is you need to rehearse with.
So it's ideal for a wide range of applications. So it is that premium Japanese quality that you would come to expect. So when we thought the CA901 was great, this is just taking that one extra step. So improved functionality, improved piano sounds, improved sound engines and things like that in here. So it has really taken that to the next step.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us today, Luke. It's been great to actually sort of take a bit more of a deep dive into the new CA series. And don't forget, comment, like, and subscribe below if you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching.